The story is about a Turkish man born in 1985 who was 17 years old back in 2002, so now he is 37. He has a younger brother named Abdulrahman, who is a year younger than him. Their mother, back when the story took place, was still very young, in her early 30s. She got married when she was very young, as marriages back then were often done without considering legal ages or respect for them. Their father, Saleh, was in his late 40s and worked in a military sector. He had diabetes and had a rather tough personality, being very strict and sometimes a bit too harsh, but only when situations raised his blood pressure. They lived in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia, but their hometown was located 900 kilometers to the south in the western region of the kingdom. Every year they would travel there for family visits. One year, the father promised that if his sons succeeded in school, they would get a reward. He would buy them gifts. The boys, of course, were not the best students, but they worked hard and managed to pass with high marks. They were excited about the reward. Some of their classmates had received gifts like a PlayStation 1 or Nokia phones. So the father took them to the market, bought them their gifts, and even bought their mother a Nokia phone. The family was overjoyed. However, the happiness was short-lived, as on the same day, their father was in a hurry to go to their hometown and told them they needed to leave early the next morning. The father loved going to the hometown so much that he considered resigning from his job just to settle there. The next morning, they packed their things and headed out, but things took a strange turn. During the trip, there were tensions between their parents because of the long journey, and the weather was unbearably hot. They stopped at a rest stop to cool off, but after taking a nap, they woke up much later than expected, causing even more tension. After continuing their journey, the family experienced a serious scare when Abdulrahman, needing to relieve himself, got bitten by a snake. The family panicked, but a stranger appeared out of nowhere and helped them. He was a local resident and knew how to treat snake bites. He helped wash the poison out of Abdulrahman's leg, and after a tense few moments, Abdulrahman started to feel better. The stranger even helped treat the mother's leg, as she had also been bitten by the snake. Despite everything, there was a lot of tension between the father and the family, especially after the stranger helped them, as the father was angry and didn't trust anyone. But the family was saved that night, and although the journey was difficult, they managed to get through it. The whole experience was life-changing, and the memories from that event still affect the narrator to this day. After the snakebite incident, things didn't calm down immediately. The father was angry, and the tension within the family remained high. The narrator, who was feeling the weight of the situation, had his own internal battle with the events that had unfolded. As they continued on their journey, there were still moments of silence, with the narrator reflecting on everything that had happened. Despite the help from the stranger, the family's emotions were mixed. While they were thankful, they were also still dealing with the fact that the father was upset. The father had always been very controlling, and the events had taken a toll on everyone. The stranger had saved them, but the father remained skeptical and dismissive of the stranger's intentions, which created more tension. The mother, however, remained more understanding. She tried to calm everyone down, even as the father's anger grew. The narrator, for his part, was deeply conflicted. He didn't know how to deal with his emotions and was angry with both his father for his stubbornness and with himself for not being able to prevent the situation. The family continued their journey after the stranger had helped them, but it wasn't easy. The atmosphere in the car was heavy, and the narrator found himself lost in thought, reflecting on how the events had unfolded. He couldn't help but feel both resentment and gratitude towards the stranger who had helped them. As the story goes on, the narrator recalls how the family finally made it to their hometown, but the tension from the journey lingered. The father was still upset with the mother for insisting on stopping at the rest stop, and the narrator couldn't shake off the feeling of frustration. However, despite all the drama, the family did eventually reach their destination, and they were able to find some peace and relief. The experience left a lasting impression on the narrator, especially the actions of the stranger who had helped them during the crisis. Although the father never fully acknowledged the stranger's kindness, the narrator would always remember how that moment changed everything. It wasn't just about surviving the ordeal, but also about the emotional scars that would stay with him for years to come. After the family reached their hometown, the situation didn't completely return to normal. The father's anger was still evident, and even though they had made it through the crisis, the tension between the parents remained palpable. The narrator, deeply shaken by the events, couldn't shake off the feelings of frustration and resentment. The experience had been traumatic, especially seeing his mother and brother in such danger. But life in their hometown was supposed to be a place of comfort and family connection. It was supposed to be a time for rest, but the emotional aftermath of the journey lingered. The father, despite his gruff demeanor, was clearly affected by what had happened, though he would never admit it. He never fully acknowledged the stranger's kindness or the fact that the family had been saved because of his actions. The father's pride kept him from expressing gratitude, and it only added to the complicated dynamic between him and the rest of the family. Over time, the family started to settle back into their routine in the hometown. The events of that day became part of their family history, a story that was told and retold with different versions and emotions attached. But the narrator couldn't forget how he felt during the crisis, how he felt helpless, how he felt torn between his father's authority and the fact that in that moment, the stranger was the only one who had known what to do to save them. Despite the father's stubbornness, the narrator grew to understand that the events of that journey had changed something in him. It was more than just a close call with danger. It was a pivotal moment in his life that shaped how he saw the world. He learned the value of kindness, the importance of staying calm in a crisis, and the power of gratitude, even when it's hard to express. As the years passed, the memory of that trip stayed with him, and the lessons learned from it influenced his relationships and decisions moving forward. He understood that life wasn't always black and white, that people could surprise you, and sometimes the ones who seemed the least likely to help were the ones who did. He also realized that no matter how hard his father tried to hold on to control, life would always find a way to teach them lessons that no amount of authority could prevent. The story remained a defining moment for him, and whenever he thought about it, he couldn't help but remember how one stranger, with a simple act of kindness, had altered the course of their lives. Even though the family had been through so much turmoil that day, it was that small act that made all the difference, and it was a moment he would never forget.